Well, for more on the situation in Honduras, let's speak to Alexander Main. He's a specialist on Latin America at the Center for Economic and Policy Research in Washington, D.C. Thanks very much for coming on Al Jazeera to talk about this. As John mentioned there is still anger on the streets, over 1,000 people demonstrating during the inauguration. Is there anything the opposition, though, can now do? Is it a done deal? He is now the president.
I think it is absolutely a done deal. There were some possibilities to contest the results, and the courts of Honduras have rejected, many complaints that have come from the opposition. So that's why really they're left with nothing more than to take to the streets. And really, I think, these elections are seen widely as illegitimate, not just within Honduras, but also internationally. The Organization of American States had an electoral observation mission that, decided that the elections had so many irregularities, so many problems, that really they called for new elections. The head of the Organization of American States, Luis Almagro, also called for new elections. But of course, the big player in the region is the United States. The U.S. has backed Juan Orlando Hernandez throughout his first term and is backing him now in his second term.
His message today was of reconciliation. What do you think he needs to do to try and even attempt to do that? And indeed, can we trust that that is what he wants to do?
No, I don't think we can trust that that's what he wants to do. Really not at all. What we've seen under his first term is that the courts have been stacked really with his cronies. The country's become more militarized. This has been accompanied by the killing of many political activists. The famous activist Berta Cáceres, a great champion of ecological and indigenous causes in the country, for instance, was assassinated. And there's a great deal of evidence that points to the involvement of military intelligence of Honduras in this assassination. So I think there's a great deal of distrust. I think really there's, a popular clamor in favor of new elections. Again, that was backed internationally by the Organization of American States. Juan Orlando Hernandez has chose to completely ignore that. I think his administration will widely be seen as illegitimate.
John, in his report there, talked a little bit about poverty, a bit about the need for the economy to be turned around. Do you think this president is capable of doing that? From what we've seen so far, how much of a change would that be to turn this around?
I think it's very difficult when you have this degree of instability in the country, along with a government that's notoriously corrupt. And in fact, the outgoing Congress, which is controlled by the governing party, just passed a law that effectively blocks corruption investigations for the next 3 years against public officials. So they're seen as protecting themselves. And, many high-level actors within the government and associated with the government are allegedly implicated in drug trafficking. Just 2 days ago, the Associated Press reported on the head of the police, just named. An internal report within the Honduran government actually alleges that he is implicated in protecting a major shipment of cocaine that went through the country. Similar allegations against the security minister. It really looks like a narco state. And so it's difficult to attract investment. It's difficult to have sort of stable economic growth in that sort of context.
We really appreciate your thoughts. Thanks very much for coming on Al Jazeera to explain that to us.